On some days I feel like I can do anything and I'm on top of the world, while I feel useless, distracted and lazy on others. This is a comment I received on one of my recent videos where I talked about how most people don't get things done in their lives because they have a wrong understanding of what the human willpower is and how the human willpower can be used. And I think this is an extremely relatable experience. To feel driven, motivated and powerful on certain days, and then feel, as the person said, useless, distracted and lazy on other days. So let's talk about how to deal with this, how to navigate this. However, when it comes to the word distracted, this time we have to think about it and talk about it in the broader sense. Because it's the obvious solution or obvious conclusion to say, yeah, you need to scroll less and spend less time on mindless entertainment and less time on cheap dopamine activities, and you're going to feel less distracted and more motivated. We all know that. I talk about this often because it's one of the most important issues of our age. But in this context of willpower and in the context of comparing it to the days where you feel more driven, more motivated and more powerful and more ready and willing to take on life's challenges and projects, we have to talk about distraction in a broader sense. Let's think of being distracted from your life's mission, being distracted from what your passion is. Let's talk about being distracted from knowing what your qualities are. So again, distraction in a broader sense, because we are well aware of the dangers of immediate digital distractions. So let's talk about this polarity. You feeling extremely powerful and enthusiastic. This is going to be an important word for us, enthusiasm. Extremely powerful, driven and enthusiastic on certain days, and then feeling like a lesser version of yourself on other days. I'm going to right now share a meme on the screen, so you can pause the video to take a couple of seconds to look at that meme. And why am I sharing it? Because it describes almost perfectly the experience that the commenter shared, and there is a reason why this is a meme. Every meme is relatable, and every meme is part of the collective experience. Believe it or not, memes nowadays are more psychological than a lot of academic psychology research papers. And I'm not even exaggerating. Again, because memes share or explain or convey the collective experience of modern humans. The whole point of the meme that I showed and the comment that this person shared that all of us can relate to, the whole point or the whole story is, I'm thinking that I'm supposed to stay on this wave of feeling like the greater version of myself. I'm expecting, or at least hoping, to have this same fuel at all times, but then I'm disappointed, discouraged, and sometimes really caught off guard by the dip in motivation, drive, and enthusiasm. And here is how we can start approaching this. It's on purpose that I want to include something seemingly unrelated to this, and I want to talk about gratitude. What does gratitude require? Your heart is not enough. You being, quote unquote, a grateful person is not enough. You having things in your life to be grateful for is not enough. Gratitude, as unglamorous as it may sound, gratitude requires discipline, consistency, and effort. Gratitude requires you reminding yourself every single day of the things that you should be grateful for. So once again, you having things to be grateful for doesn't equal gratitude. Gratitude is a practice. Why did I bring this in? Because gratitude is one of the most potent experiences in human life and one of the perfect examples of how we mistakenly think that certain experiences should be spontaneous and should arise out of their own or on their own, arise and give us that fuel. So what were the things that we mentioned previously? Motivation, drive, enthusiasm. They are just like gratitude. They need and require discipline, consistency, effort, showing up for yourself. Not in the sense of they need discipline, consistency, and effort invested in your projects. No, they need consistency, effort, and discipline invested in them. You need to invest effort into enthusiasm itself, into making the flame of enthusiasm into a fire of enthusiasm, or keeping the flame alive. When it comes to drive and motivation, the same. You need to put in the effort of keeping them alive and bringing them to be bigger and bigger. Again, I always think about it as a flame that can be made into a fire. That's my visual. That's what helps me. The question is, what's going to help you? So already now, with this explaining how I envision it, how I visualize it, already we are onto something. So what are the ways that you put in the effort and you embody discipline and consistency when it comes to enthusiasm, drive, motivation? Many different things. Are you going to every single morning write down the reasons why you are on the journey that you're on? Are you going to out loud speak to yourself about, it's not just the reasons, it's reminding yourself of the journey that you're on, why you're on the journey that you're on, who are the people that you're going to help along the way, or that you hope to inspire along the way, who are the people that have helped you. And it's almost a sense of duty, not almost. For some of us, like for myself, it's a sense of duty to make things happen because of the people that have helped us. Either to pay them back or to make them proud, or in a more vague sense, but extremely potent, for our life to be an extension of their goodness. Are you going to write it down? Are you going to speak it out loud? Are you going to maybe, let's go again to the visuals. Are you going to create visuals that can remind you of your journey and that can give you the enthusiasm, or at least a fraction of the enthusiasm and drive and motivation that you have on your best days? Once again, visuals. I looked at this just before recording this video because for whatever reason on this particular day, I didn't feel the smoothest. I didn't feel particularly in flow, and I needed something to bring me down a bit, to calm down and to focus better on delivering this message to you. So I spent some time just looking at this. Slow down, breathe, focus, flow. And looking at these wonderful characters that are the embodiment of those values. Writing, speaking, meditating on something that is contemplating it, being in visual contact with those things. All of those things need to be done daily, at the very least weekly. Although I'm not sure if you want to be driven, if you want to get as close as possible to those best days, I'm not sure it's fair to yourself to say, okay, once a week I'm going to spend some time reconnecting with my journey. Can you afford to do it just once a week or twice a week? Is it a fair thing to ask of yourself? Is it fair to ask of yourself? Is it fair to tell yourself that, okay, I'm going to do it twice a week? Or is it more fair, or is it more honoring yourself to say every single day, doesn't matter if it's 1 minute or 10 minutes, and we are not talking about 1 hour, but every single day, I'm going to do something that reconnects me to my journey. I'm going to do something that reconnects me to my reasons, and my main sources of motivation. Every single day, I'm going to do something that reminds me of the people who have helped me along the way and that are my inspirations. Every single day, I'm going to do something that reminds me of where I'm headed, what's waiting for me there. Every single day, I'm going to do something, action. If, again, writing, contemplating, all of those are actions. Every single day I'm going to do something, meaning I'm going to invest effort. And if I'm going to invest effort every single day, it means I'm going to be consistent. And if I'm going to invest effort into something every single day, it means that I have to be disciplined. The discipline becomes one of the components of enthusiasm, motivation, drive. And if all of that's the case, then it means that it's a practice to feel powerful. It's a practice to feel driven. It's a practice for you to have those days, like you commented, where you feel like you can achieve anything, when you feel like you're on top of the world. And once again, yes, there are these biochemical factors, how well you slept, are you well hydrated, how you're eating, are you scrolling, are you bombarded with blue light in the night. All of that is valid, but I know that this person didn't ask because of that. All of you are aware of it, and you need reminders, and we need to keep talking about all of these environmental factors. But this right now, what I'm talking about, almost no one is talking about. Almost no one is talking about the fact that it is a practice to, I'm going to use the fire analogy. It's a practice to keep the flame alive, and it's a practice to make flame into a fire. Don't be mistaken. If you have a passion, that doesn't mean that you should feel powerful and driven and motivated every single day. Passion is something that is there. Passion is something that sustains you. But passion is a long-term thing. And you cannot always be on a high. Enthusiasm is the short-term, more intense, more immediate, more high version of the long-term thing that is passion. Enthusiasm is when you have these extremely high moments where it's like, oh, I'm going to do this and this and this, and I'm going to take on this challenge and this project. That's enthusiasm. And enthusiasm isn't a permanent thing. With everything that I said, that's why I said a couple of times, at least a fraction of, or get closer to, because no one can promise. It would be ridiculous to promise to always be on that high. It will not happen. But we can very, very much influence our internal states to, as often as possible, feel as closely as possible to those highest moments. Another way, or the same way, but kind of to put this in a structured manner. How about we pause and we say, I have these extremely high days, then I have these low days where I'm feeling, again, useless, lazy. How about I stop for a moment and I recognize, this is how the journey is supposed to look like. And the task is how to sustain myself, sustain some level of enthusiasm, sustain some level of motivation and drive on those low days. And that's the task. The task isn't to break my head wondering, why do I have those low days? Because unless you are now on a streak of months and months, or maybe years of feeling low, unless that's the case, if you are, as this person describes, having variations of drive, motivation, energy, confidence, if that is the case, if it's like for most of us, ups and downs, then it means you probably do have some sort of project. You probably do have some sort of mission ahead of yourself. You probably do have a passion, or at least something that could become a passion. And then this is the normal journey. It's about taking on the project of making it into a practice to nurture these sources of fuel, these inner sources of fuel. If you've been on a streak of months and months, or maybe years, of feeling useless, distracted and lazy, that's another story. The same thing that I described up to this point would benefit you. But the question is, Is there something that you're looking at in front of yourself? Is there a project? Is there a mission? Is there a greater task? Is there anything? Once again, you also need to do the daily reps of gratitude, of reconnecting to your journey. It's just if you've been on a long streak of no drive and motivation and no confidence and no feeling of power, then the question is, do you even know what your journey is? Have you completely disconnected from it? But again, for most people, they're going to be in the former category, where they have at least some idea where they're headed. And that's what allows them to have those high days, because there is a target, there is a mission, there is maybe that passion. To put this practically, if none of this was practical, although I think already we mentioned some things that you can start applying today, let's repeat them. Every single day, reconnect to your journey in a way that nurtures your internal sources of fuel. That's motivation, drive, enthusiasm. How do you reconnect to your journey? In a way that nurtures inner sources of fuel and turns flame into a fire, or at the very least maintains the flame. How do you do so? Writing, speaking to yourself, visual imagery, reading certain things that remind you of your journey, watching something, and we are not talking about binge watching, listening to something that reconnects you to your journey. I often quote Abraham Maslow, and people might think, I'm some kind of just psychology nerd and I love Maslow just for his educational stuff. Call me weird, but I find his writing incredibly motivating. Another person, Rollo May, that I often quote. Also, call me a nerd, but it gets me riled up just to find, okay, courage to create. Rollo May does for me what David Goggins, I guess, does for a lot of people. Like, he is a badass for me. The way he talks about anxiety, the way he talks about engaging in life. It's like watching 300, That's for me, that's the benchmark of a source of fuel. Like watching movie 300, I watched it. I remember when I first watched it when I was a boy. I watched it like 5-6 times in a span of a couple of weeks. That was the first time I was like, oh, I don't know what's happening, but something is happening inside of me. And nowadays, or for the last couple of years, again, Rollo May, existential psychology, but specifically I would say Rollo May and Abraham Maslow, the way they talk about human potential, human life, engaging in life, and Rollo May being more existential. Again, I guess that is for me what David Goggins and some gym edits that guys watch before workouts. That's what this does for me. So read something that is going to nurture that flame and make it into a fire inside of you. I'm not saying it has to be Rollo May for you. Don't think of it. It has to be something profound. I'm an anime guy. I think you figured out by now. I have a Rock Lee figurine in the other room. For the longest time, I had an anime soundtrack as my alarm because I wanted to wake up fired up. So, the duality of the human being, getting fired up by Rollo May and Abraham Maslow and Carl Jung and Friedrich Nietzsche, but also getting fired up by anime. So don't, when I say this is for me what David Goggins is for others, I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm more profound. I am more profound, I get inspired by a great intellectual, and others are getting inspired by a guy who is just running. No, I'm not trying to say that. Find what works for you. Writing, speaking with yourself, to yourself, visual imagery, reading, listening. What's the music that reconnects you to your journey? What's the music that tells you, yes, you are the person. You are the person who is the right one for this journey. You are the person who can take on that project. You are the person who can overcome that obstacle. You are the person who has to bet on himself or herself. I mean, I think this is what it comes down to be honest. I'm speaking to hundreds and hundreds of people on a weekly basis. And I really think it comes down to a lot of life comes down to, are you the person who is going to bet on himself or herself? You have to be the one to do it. Sometimes we are blessed to have people who believe in us more than we believe in ourselves. And there is probably no greater blessing in life. But you cannot wait for that blessing. You cannot be in despair because you haven't received that blessing yet. So if right now there is no one in your life who believes in you more than you believe in yourself, you better find that part of you that believes in you more than the smaller part of you believes in yourself. Be your own hype man, hype woman, cheerleader, supporter, the most passionate, fiery supporter of yourself. What would the most passionate supporter do for you? No, we are now coming full circle. What would the most passionate supporter do for you? Every single day, he or she would be reminding you who you are, where you're headed, why you're headed there, what you've accomplished so far, all the things that you overcame so far. All of the people who help you on your journey, and it's your duty and responsibility towards them to keep going and to keep showing up. That's what your most passionate, fiery supporter would do. And if you are supposed to be your most passionate supporter, are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? So tell me, I listed the most basic things. There are more things to list, but there is no need to overwhelm yourself. Journal, not for an hour, journal for 5 minutes to remind yourself of these main aspects of your journey that I just listed. Don't need to journal. Go on a walk and list them out loud. Visual imagery, visual contact with your journey. Reading things that fire you up and that remind you who you are and that remind you who you could be. And listen to things, whether it's speeches, lectures, or songs. Doesn't matter if it's Bach or anime soundtracks. I listen to both. I could literally be writing at that table that you cannot see while listening to Bach, and then I'm going on a run listening to an anime soundtrack. Again, the duality of the human being. What are you fired up by, and what connects you to your journey? All of us feel like we can take on the whole world on some days, and all of us feel useless, distracted, and lazy on other days. It is how the journey looks like, and it's a practice. It's a practice to maintain, sustain, and increase enthusiasm, drive, and motivation. I'm hoping this was both helpful in the sense of changing your attitude and your mindset and giving you philosophical foundation for how to tackle these ups and downs, but also practical enough where it gave you something to take action on. Let me know in the comments if this made sense. Let me know in the comments what are the things that are going to fire you up. Tell me, are you going to start journaling for 5 minutes in the morning? Are you going to go on a 5-10 minutes walk and talk out loud to yourself these things that reconnect you to your journey? Let me know. Have you found some visual imagery that reconnects you to your journey? Tell me, have you found something, or do you have an idea of what could be the thing that you read and gets you fired up, and also what you're going to listen to? And to be completely honest, maybe I'm most curious about what you're going to listen to get reconnected to your journey and fired up. That's it. Now I got fired up. I'm going to continue my day on a strong high, thanks to you. Thanks to you who are watching, thanks to you who are commenting, giving these great suggestions for future videos. So please keep them coming, and thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.